shortly, but we'll continue on here. Lost our screen. But what is basically happening here is the Republicans are changing with the wind. The wind is blowing in a different direction, so they have to blow in a different direction also. So what can they do literally to present their party as a party that is relevant? Thus, they have the budget out there, and this used to be something that political consultants talked about. Political science have studied it somewhat. The ability of particular campaigns to neutralize issues. What's happened with the Republicans is their tax and spend issues are out there. They are still running on that. They still have their people talking about tax, spend, the budget, and those kinds of things. But at the same time, there is more controversy as to what is actually going on there. So this moves us on to Pennsylvania. We'll go over it, and this is by Godfrey Skelly. He's a political analyst at the University of Virginia, I assume. Nonetheless, his article here, it's on the 28th of March. Perhaps Pennsylvania's Senate Majority Leader, Dominic Palilegi, should be nicknamed the Electoral College Count Von Count for his different way of trying to count electoral votes, much like the Sesame Street character. His fixation on counting can be both to not only his enemies but also to some of his political friends, and instructive. After his inability to push the Keystone State version of an electoral, incidentally, Pennsylvania is a Keystone State there. So his idea is that this drafting of his is oddball. Nonetheless, the congressional district plan, we talked about that. Palilegi proposed a new bill that would proportionally allocate, and this is not proportional representation, incidentally, Pennsylvania's electoral votes based upon a statewide popular vote. Now, this is even more concocted idiocy. Considering that President Obama won Pennsylvania by a little more than 5 percentage points while winning 100% of all 20 electoral votes there, Palilegi, hope I'm pronouncing his name, latest proposal is bipartisan, just like his previous plan, because the Democratic presidential candidate won the state in every election since 1992, so it was 20 years of it. Republicans would love to win some of the electoral votes. In other words, you can't win them all, you get some. Even if their presidential candidate can't win a plurality in Pennsylvania. Democrats see the proposal as a ploy to game the system, and we also get the sense that many Republicans would just as soon let the issue of changing electoral college allocation go away, given its potency as a rallying cry for Democrats. Any changes to the electoral law or electoral vote, are lauded would make more sense if adopted nationally as opposed to piecemeal approach. Now, that includes Maine and Nebraska that have those kinds of things, whose unique apportionment by congressional districts gives ammo to those who wish to game the rules in other states. But unlike the proposal to award electoral votes by congressional districts, a plan that the crystal ball Dr. Alan Amowitz found would have elected Willard in Romney, that is, in 2012, even though President Obama won the national vote by about 5 million votes. A proportional allocation system used nationally might track more closely to the national vote than the current system. We will tackle what could happen if electoral votes were awarded proportionally in every state, but first an explanation is required to clarify how the proportional system would work. Palegi's Proposed amendment to the Pennsylvania Electoral College law allocates electoral votes based upon the following. Whenever a candidate receives a plurality of the votes of the state's votes, wins 2 electoral votes, the remaining electoral votes, 18 votes in 2012, are then evenly divided among the candidates based on the proportion of the state's popular vote each one, with the electoral vote totaling up to the nearest whole number. That means, for instance, 1.1/10 is rounded up to 2, not 1. Should the rounded up electoral vote total up to more than the state's total electors, the number of presidential electors allocated to the nominee with the smallest percentage of statewide popular votes should be reduced by 1. The subtraction phrase, as we'll refer to it, is then repeated until the total is right, going from the last place candidate to the to the second place finisher. This sounds something like these instant voting schemes that these races have come up with. The second place finish in the state cannot have his or her total reduced in the subtractive phase. On using Pennsylvania's 2012, let's demonstrate how this works. Overall, President Obama won 52%, Willard Romney 49.6%. The remaining candidates each won about 1% apiece. First, President Obama would get 2 electoral votes then. Now multiplying 220 by 18, we get 9.4, which would then added to the 2 he's given, he'd have 11.4. In other words, he wouldn't get his 12, which is rounded to 12 electoral votes based on the language. As for Willard, we'd multiply 466 by 18, would get 8.4, and we'd round that to 9. But because 2 plus 9 equals 21, we must reduce the electoral vote to get to the 20. So starting with the lowest finisher who has electoral votes, we subtract 1 from Willard, making an allotment of 12 for the president and 8 for Willard. Now he goes on to talk about some states in which that would happen, this proportional scheme. But for instance, in a state like California has 55, Willard would have came up with California. The president would have got 34, Willard would have got 20, Johnson would have got 1 out of the 55. So this kind of shows you how this proportional scheme that the Republicans have. In other words, so we ended up with a total for the president of 282 votes, and Willard would have got 255. He'd have been 10 short of it on these proportional schemes. I'll put this up so you can see it. Challenges for a proportional system. So Skelly thinks here. But what are the other ramifications of the system? Most notably, it would significantly affect large states. The states with 4 electoral votes or less would still end up awarding all the votes to the candidate who won their states. But for states between 5 and 10 electoral votes, most would still award the vast majority of the electoral votes to the statewide winner. Although the minority party could scrap a few electoral votes in each state, however, the formula disproportionately influences the electoral college results for the most populous states. President Obama beat old Willard 187 to 69 in states with 15 or more. That is California, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Michigan, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Texas. Willard carried barely North Carolina, and he carried Texas. He didn't do anything the rest of them. On the Pennsylvania's proportional system, President Obama's margin of victory would have been narrowed to 143 to 112. So in other words, you go to 143 to 112 from 187 to 69. Thus, the proportional setup magnifies the importance of small states by diminishing the strength of the bigger ones. The Electoral College is already biased towards smaller states. Wyoming has 1 electoral vote per roughly 200,000 people versus California on 691 people. But on the proportional system, the importance of winning small states increases because smaller states are usually more decisive. They give a larger percentage, often 100% of their electoral votes to one candidate. A state with free electoral votes would always award those free to the winner. Using the 2012 results, none of the states with 4 electoral votes would have split the vote either, but those with 5 or 6 would have split 4-1 or 5-1 there. And in the biggest states, they have a chart here to show where they would end up. Besides increasing electoral college's small state bias, a 50-state proportional system would cause considerable confusion. Take Texas in '92, for instance. President George H.W. Bush won the state with 40.6% of the vote, earning him 2 votes for winning the state and giving him an electoral vote proportion of 12.2%, although Bush would have had 14.2% of 15 electoral votes. Bill Clinton finished second with 37.1% or 11.1% or 12 electoral votes. Ross Perot won 22% of the vote. He'd had 6.6. He'd had 7 electoral votes. However, the free candidate total electoral votes would have been 34, 2 more than the 32 Texas had in 2002. And then you go into subtraction phase. Perot and Clinton would have lost a vote, leaving the state's total to Bush of 15, Clinton 11, Ross Perot of Dallas 6. With only 2 major candidates, the system is still fairly clear, but if you have free, the confusion no doubt would come in there. So thus, that system doesn't work out too good at all. It's kind of like the instant voting system. In the actual 1860, 1968, and 1992 elections, the plurality winner of the national popular vote won a majority in electoral college, but on the proportional rule, no candidate in those 3 elections would have won an electoral college majority, automatically throwing it into the House of Representatives to decide, which hadn't happened in 200 years. The 1992 case would have been relatively straightforward. Democrats control a sizable majority of state delegations in the House. An absolute majority of state is required to produce that. Each state is given 1 vote, meaning Bill Clinton would be the likely winner in the House vote. But in 1860, it's essentially impossible to game out how the House vote would be decided, given the threat of succession and the North-South split in the Democratic Party. Perhaps the nation would have added deadlock to dissolving. So, and that would have been disillusion. In 1968, Democrats controlled 26 of the 50 state legislatures in the House, so it was impossible that Horatio Humphrey might have won the House vote. However, the 5 of the majority Democratic delegations were from states that Wallace won. So, Richard Nixon would have had some kind of deal with the Wallace forces. In other words, he'd have double-crossed everyone. Ultimately, it seems unlikely that any changes in the Electoral College will happen anywhere. It may be worthwhile and fascinating to examine the possible repercussions of certain plans, but by laying out how the plan would be in order the election, in other words, it's a dead duck. So this is from Larry Sabato and company with his crystal ball. So the crystal ball has pointed it out, but it has to be applied to these instant voting schemes so people understand what happens there. They deprive people also of the opportunity to fully participate in the electoral system. Now, one of the things we're going to have to do here, we'll have to change our 3 o'clock starting to 3:30, which we shall do very, very quickly here. And we'll start a little bit later than we normally start. Nonetheless, this is Boston Red on the